on in. No, you're just in time. Our poetry circle is going to start in just a couple minutes. There's a seat for you over here if you want to take a seat. I'd love to get you some hot chocolate or tea. Which one would you prefer? The tea? Oh, it is chamomile and lemon. Yeah, that sounds good. All right. Well, it should be just about ready to drink. I'll set it over here next to you, and you can always add sugar or cream over at the little table over there. Is this your first time? Awesome. I'm so glad you could join us today. Our tea time and poetry circle at the public library is such a special and fun time. So I hope you enjoy it. Okay, everyone, please take your seats. We're just about to begin. It looks like everyone has their preferred drink, and you all look eager to dive in. So let me explain what we'll be doing today. So if you remember, last time I brought a book of poetry written by American and British authors, but this book is an anthology of international poetry, meaning each of the poems in this book were written in a language other than English and then have been expertly translated into English so that we can enjoy them. I've picked out several that I think we will enjoy, but before we get started, to set the mood, I'm going to light this candle. I know you guys know what it's like to try and light candles and have it not work. Let's try again. There we go. Alright. For those of you following along with your own books, you can open up to page 12 for our first poem. This poem is by Rainer Maria Rilke of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and they were born in 1875. This one is called Autumn Day. Lord, it is time. The summer was immense. Stretch out your shadow on the sundial's face, and on the meadows let the winds go loose. Command the last fruits to be full in time. Grant them even 2 more southerly days. Press them toward fulfillment soon, and chase the last sweetness into the heavenly wine. Whoever has no house now will build none. Who is alone now will stay long alone, will lie awake, read, get long letters written, and through the streets that follow up and down, will wander restless when the leaves are driven. This was translated from the language of German by John Felsteiner. So that's our first poem. Beautiful poem about autumn. Does everyone have what they need? More tea, hot chocolate? No? Okay, great. Well, let's move on to our next poem. This poem is on page 38, and it's by Gabriela Mistral. It was written in the country of Chile sometime in the early 1900s. This poem is called The Footprint. Of the fleeing man I have only the footprint, the weight of his body, and the wind that blows him. No signs, no name, no country or town, only the damp shell of his footprint. Only this syllable, absorbed by the sand and the earth, Veronica who murmured it to me. Only the anguish that hurries his flight, hammering pulse, gasping breath, glistening sweat, teeth on edge, and the hard, dry wind that hits his back. And the thorn he leaps, the marsh he crosses, the bush that hides him, and the sun that reveals him. The hill that helps him, and the one that betrays him. The root that trips him, and God who gets him to his feet. And his daughter, the blood that calls out through him, the footprint, Lord, the bright footprint, the mouthless cry, the footprint, the footprint. Holy sands eat up his sign, dogs of mist cover his track. Falling night, swallow in one gulp the great, sweet mark of a man. I see, I count the 2,000 footprints. I go running, running across old earth, mixing up his poor tracks with mine, and I stop and erase them with my wild hair, or face down I lick away the footprints. But the white earth turns eternal, stretches endless as a chain, lengthens out into a snake, and the Lord God does not break its back, and the footprints go on to the end of the world. Wow, so much emotion in that poem. It's beautiful. It was translated from the language of Spanish by Ursula K. Le Guin. I think it's so special that these poems that we wouldn't normally have access to if we don't speak these languages, we do now have access to because of the wonderful people who translated them. Okay, are you guys ready for the next one? Oh, this one is on a little bit happier topic. You can see I marked the pages with these little strips of paper so that I could remember which ones I wanted to read. Let's see, who is this one by? It's by Boris Pasternak of Russia, and he was born in 1890. This poem is called A Wedding. Into the enormous sky flew a whirlwind of blue-gray patches, a flock of doves spiraling up suddenly from the dovecotes, and to see them makes you wish, just as the wedding feast is ending, years of happiness for this couple flung onto the wind like doves. Life, too, is only an instant, only a dissolving of ourselves into everyone, as if we gave ourselves as gifts. Only a wedding, only the depths of a window and the sound rushing in, only a song or a dream, only a blue-gray dove. Translated from Russian by Robert Haas and Stephen Mitchell. So far, could one or two of you tell me what your favorite poem is and how it made you feel? Yeah? Okay, that makes sense. Yes, you. Man, I love that insight. That's wonderful. Okay, well, I'm going to take another sip of my hot chocolate before we read the next one. Big thank you to whoever made this. It's delicious. Okay. You know, I think I forgot to say what page that last poem was on, but This one is on page 65. This poem is by Cesar Vallejo of Peru, and he was born in 1892. It's called The Black Riders. There are blows in life so violent I can't answer, blows as if from the hatred of God, as if before them the deep waters of everything lived through were backed up in the soul. I can't answer. Not many, but they exist. They open dark ravines in the most ferocious face, and in the most bull-like back. Perhaps they are the horses of the heathen Attila, or the black riders sent to us by death. They are the slips backward made by the Christs of the soul, away from some holy faith that is sneered at by events. These blow that are bloody are the crackling sounds from some bread that burns at the oven door. And man, poor man, poor man, he swings his eyes as when a man behind us calls us by clapping his hands. Swings his crazy eyes, and everything alive is backed up like a pool of guilt in that glance. There are blows in life so violent I can't answer. Translated from the Spanish language by Robert Bly. One thing that we've talked about in our poetry circle before is how poems have a way of expressing intense emotions very briefly. So just in a few words and with the use of repetition or patterns can evoke and express deep senses of emotion. So it really is a wonderful art form, and of course anyone can write poetry, but it's really special when we get to have access to those who are particularly talented in it. Let's choose two more to read for today. Let's see. We could go with this one. Let's see. Yeah, let's read this one by George Seferis. Nope, George Seferis. And he is from Greece. He was born in 1990. This is from the larger work called Mythostorema. Now, I unfortunately am not pronouncing all these words right, so please do excuse me, and please don't take it as a sign of disrespect. But yeah, if anyone has insights on these poets or these languages, please feel free to share with the group, and we would love to benefit from your knowledge. Argonauts. And a soul, if it is to know itself, must look into its own soul, and the stranger an enemy, we've seen him in the mirror. They were good, the companions, they didn't complain about the work or the thirst or the frost. They had the bearing of trees and waves that accept the wind and the rain, accept the night and the sun, without changing in the midst of change. They were fine whole days. They sweated at the oars with lowered eyes, breathing in rhythm, and their blood reddened a submissive skin. Sometimes they sang with lowered eyes as we were passing the deserted island of the Barbary figs to the west, beyond the cape of the dogs that bark. If it is to know itself, they said, it must look into its own soul, they said, and the oars struck the sea's gold in the sunset. We went past many capes and many islands, the sea leading to another sea, gulls and seals. Sometimes disconsolate women wept, lamenting their lost children, and others, frantic, sought Alexander the Great, and glories buried in the depths of Asia. We moored on shores full of night scents, the birds singing, with water that left on the hands the memory of a great happiness. But the voyage did not end. Their souls became one with the oars and the oarlocks, with the solemn face of the prow, with the rudder's wake, with the water that shattered their image. The companions died one by one with lowered eyes. Their oars mark the place where they sleep on the shore. No one remembers them. Justice. Wow, that was a pretty serious poem, huh? And it was translated from the language of Greek by Edmund Keeley and Philip Sherrard. Well, here's a cute short one by Tatsuji Miyoshi. It's called The Ground. Ants are dragging a wing of a butterfly. See, it is like a yacht. Okay, I'm going to choose just one more for us today. That could be a fun one. Or that one. Let's go with this one. So this one is also by Tatsuji Miyoshi of Japan, and this person was born in 1900. Great Aso. Horses are standing in rain. A herd of horses with one or two foals is standing in rain. In hushed silence, rain is falling. The horses are eating grass, with tails and backs too, and manes too, completely soaking wet. They are eating grass, eating grass. Some of them are standing with necks bowed over absent-mindedly and not eating grass. Rain is falling and falling in hushed silence. The mountain is sending up smoke. The peak of Nakadake is sending up dimly yellowish and heavily oppressive volcanic smoke, densely, densely. And rain clouds, too, all over the sky. Still they continue without ending. Horses are eating grass. On one of the hills of the 1,000-mile shore of grass, they are absorbedly eating blue-green grass. Eating. They are all standing there quietly. They are quietly gathered in one place forever, dripping and soaked with rain. If 100 years go by in this single moment, there would be no wonder. Rain is falling. Rain is falling in hushed silence. Rain is falling. Wow, that was beautiful. That was translated from the Japanese language by Edith Markham Schiffert and Yuki Sawa. My friends, I am so thankful that you were able to be here with me today. Next, we're going to break up into pairs and discuss the poetry readings and our reactions to them. Also, would one of you like to volunteer to read poetry next week? Yes? Okay, yeah, that'd be perfect. Thank you, Barbara. If you want to let us know ahead of time what book you'll be reading from so we can bring our own, feel free to do that. Otherwise, we are so looking forward to hearing what you bring to share with us. Poetry is so beautiful and such a wonderful way to connect. It reminds us that we're all part of the human family. It reminds us of the beauty of our humanity, that we are indeed loved, and that we can do beautiful things like write poetry and connect about poetry and enjoy delicious drinks and feel feelings and learn about history and participate in other cultures. Okay, well, feel free to go ahead and break up into groups, get more tea or hot chocolate as needed, and when you're done, you can head home, and I'll see you back here next week. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.